Dan, I am old enough to remember when we were in the middle of February that it was wintertime.
That's great to hear. It was it definitely was winter. We are actually still technically we're in winter right now.
We interrupt this winter to bring you summer. That's the way it is. That's the way it is here in Ohio. What the heck? Who turned winter off?
Well, it was turned off and then on again and then off again and on again. In fact, yesterday here in Wisconsin, we had snow.
Wow. We had yesterday 74 degrees was our high. Today, our high is in the 70s again. But don't worry because tomorrow night it's supposed to snow.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we should always commit to not spend our podcast complaining about the weather, but I bring it up because like yesterday I had a taste of all of the things I forget about having a firewood business, and that is stacking wood or working in the heat because I was feeling it yesterday. I was in shorts and a t-shirt, serious,
Wow.
and I was just drained when I was all done. That's what the heat does to me. In the cold, I wish it was still cold out, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm fickle when it comes to weather. I don't want when it's cold, I want it to be warm. And when it's warm, I want it to be cold. I can't
Yeah,
make up my mind.
I know you're not one to talk about or complain about the weather much, but I do tend to agree.
Uh huh. Yeah, I love, let me temper my comment here. I enjoy certain things about winter when the ground is frozen, when it is cold, but it's not dangerous, bitter cold. I am much more productive, especially when there's no snow, which evidently it's not allowed to snow in Ohio anymore. We had this is our second year in a row of zero snow, but it makes me so much more productive. I can work all day long, and then the days are shorter. It's dark by 4 o'clock.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is a great time of the year. I like winter though for another reason, and that's just the change of the seasons. But you don't have it as
Yeah,
extreme down there, but I like to have that break of spring, summer, fall, winter.
yeah. So the other thing too that's a blind spot was yesterday. It was in the 70s, and when the sun started going down, it was getting a little dark out. I was out in my woodshed and I felt like had like a briar or something stuck in my sock. I kept getting poked by something, and because I had shorts on, and I look, it's mosquitoes. What the heck? It's February and I'm being attacked by mosquitoes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That is the downside.
the bugs of summer, the mosquitoes of summer. You want to work later in the evening because it's cooler in the evening, the sun's down, but then the mosquitoes are out.
Yep.
I got it all, and we're in February. What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. It
Yeah.
sucks. What can you do? Mother Nature cannot make up her mind.
Ugh. Well, I can't make up my mind either if I like it or hate it. Yeah. But this is still the new normal for me also. So this is I guess my second winter through my wood yard. Or no, it's my first winter
Your
through the
first,
I
yeah,
can't keep yeah, I
right. Yep.
can't keep my season straight. But it's not my first winter of being a firewood business because I had my wood yard here at my house. We have acreage and I just had everything set up here. And the benefit was if I was freezing to death outside in the middle of winter, I could just go inside and warm up
Yeah,
and then head on back out. But now that I got my wood yard, which, the commute is really difficult on me. It's a whopping 4 miles. I It's still not the same though, like if I'm freezing to death, I got to go sit in my truck and start it up kind of a thing. But then I don't know. It's just one of those things that I'm still trying to get used to. I guess what I'm saying is when I was working from home, I got pretty darn used to it. Spoiled.
spoiled. Yes, but You're working from home though. You weren't really in your home. You were just close by, so that if you did need to take a break, go warm up, grab a bite to eat, use the restroom, it's right there. It's a whole
Yes.
different mindset.
Yep. If I stepped in a mud puddle and got my sock wet,
The day's over.
if yeah, if I for that was supposed to be our secret. Play along with me here, Dan. If I forgot my hat or my sunglasses, or if I was having a code two,
Your keys. Yeah, anything
yeah,
anything that came up, you were right there. You could take care.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, I was able to just I'll just turn around and go walk right back in and get it. And I guess I can still do that 4 mile trip back to the house, but it's just different.
yeah. It makes it a lot easier to have it turn into then an excuse to just not go back to the wood yard. Well, I got to run home, and now it's already 2 o'clock. So by the time what the heck?
Yeah. I guess working from home for me was I loved it because I was working for myself. I didn't have the boss, breathing down my neck, wanting to know where I am. So like you work from home, right? You don't have a daily commute into work. Is that correct?
14 steps. That's all my
From
commute is. Downstairs
from
to upstairs.
so you made like an office, so like,
Yes.
it's a separation from home and work.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and I've actually uh my previous job I also worked from home. I've been working from home for almost 10 years. Oh, I think even more, maybe 12.
Oh wow. That's one of the benefits of being a computer nerd is you technically don't have to be where you're supposed to be.
Correct. You can
Uh-huh.
take care of everything you need to remotely.
Yeah. Well, I learned the downside for that is real quick because I used to work for a BPO, a business process outsourcer. It was these call centers. And I was like a remote employee. I was technically in charge of like eight, seven sites, some in the United States, some in central, well, I don't know, where's Jamaica and Belize and Guatemala. Okay. So I was responsible for all those sites, but I had a boss who was in Washington, D.C., that was just one step away from jerking my chain. And what I had learned too was if it was so easy for them to give all of those remote sites the job of oversight to me, they could do the exact same thing to me, by replacing me with someone from another part of the world who's going to make less than a month than I was making in a day and probably had more computer skills than me too. So
Yeah,
that is what I think the downside for, you know, okay, I mean, everyone, I think we can fantasize about the nice things about working from home, but they do come with some heavy burdens that I think that are always over top of you.
correct. I think a lot of people, when they hear the work from home, it has a certain attraction to it. It's like, oh, yeah, that would be great. But then once you start doing it, you maybe realize it's not so great. Like, yes, you're at home, but it can be added pressure just to, like you mentioned, always, wondering if, oh, there's somebody else working from home, or you're always got to be on call or ready to do something because you're just right
Uh huh.
there.
Yeah. How did you ever have like a normal job where you had to drive somewhere every day?
Yes. My previous job before I went to work from home, I would commute an hour each way every day,
Yeah.
and I would ride share with two other guys. So we'd go into the
Ugh.
office, in the morning, hour drive there, in the afternoon, hour drive home, and I did not like that at all.
Yeah, I had an hour drive too. I used to work in Cleveland. I would drive 1 hour. That's what people say, well, what'd you do there? I said, well, my job was to drive 1 hour to Cleveland so that I could send an email to a person sitting 10 feet from me. And then I would get yelled at because I parked over the lines in the parking lot.
Oh boy.
I didn't turn off the coffee pot in the galley. And then I would send another email to a person sitting 10 feet from me, and then I would drive 1 hour home.
What a day.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, but that's what, with the pandemic, that's when everything changed, because people started realizing, and I think a lot of these businesses started realizing is that, and I had heard a statistic one time too. It was like people, 70% of the people that work said that they would take they would take like a 20% pay cut if they could work from home instead of driving into the office every day.
Wow.
And yeah, I would I would agree with that because I know, I had the lifestyle change from driving into work every day to being self-employed, and there is a huge cost savings by not having a job where you have to drive into the office every day. And I think like an hour commute. I mean, I know people that have 2 hour commute, that live in DC or Phoenix, these big
Yeah.
massive cities with all these big traffic problems. It was a big savings for me because I didn't need that extra car. I was spending $350 a month in gas.
Whew.
Yeah, 50 to $75 for lunch.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, I think one of the like the things that I noticed for me anyway was my first job that I went work from home. It was I would get paid based on the amount of jobs that I did. So like I was creating uh advertisements and marketing things and videos and all kinds of, but each job had was a that's you got paid per job. So like I had to like establish a discipline and like a routine to where I knew I could get stuff done. And so like now when I work from home, it's the same thing. I just kept that mindset. But I think a lot of people they think working from home is more of a relaxed environment and you don't have to, focus and be driven to get your stuff done. And that's where I think some pitfalls fall in.
Yeah. Well, I had that a little different too. I was on a salary, which I still remember when I took my first real adult job. I had always felt like, I was kind of a slacker. I never really took anything serious. And I thought, you know what? This is important. I'm going to take this job serious and I'm going to give it everything I got. But then you're on a salary. I learned real quick. I guess that's the way my brain works is that I get paid the exact same amount if I slack or if I'm a peak performer.
Right.
And that's what I think maybe because, I call, when I became self-employed and I'm selling firewood now, and I got to hustle, and I'm motivated to get all this stuff done because if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. But I find I am much more productive and energetic and passionate about what I do now than I ever was when I was on a salary. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got to say though, like if, in your situation, I know there's other people out there who, one of the topics that always comes up like with firewood is, you have your wood yard in your backyard or on your property. And at some point, people always think about expanding. So they move their wood yard to, a commercial lot like you did.
Right.
And I got to tell you, if I were to do that, it would be hard for me to switch and go there like you do and what you just said, hustle and get stuff done. And because for me, it's kind of like, having to go somewhere. I've kind of fallen into what we were talking about in the beginning. Oh, I forgot my whatever. I forgot
Yeah.
this. I forgot that. I'm going to go home and now I'm home. I don't know. It would be tough to work in a wood yard, have a wood yard somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I just know that I just loved it when it was here at my house. It was awesome. And to be honest, though, I really don't have any neighbors. I live out in the middle of a cornfield, but I had always felt that it's still not fair to the neighbors. I mean, we live in agricultural area out here. So it's not like we have sidewalks and street lights or anything, but I was still sensitive about junking my place up. I was sensitive about the noise. I was sensitive about when log hauler Jesse would come with that gigantic truck, with a crane way up in the air and unloading logs. I was just always uneasy about that. So moving to like this new location, all of that has been removed from me. I have, zero regard now for noise or anything because there's just no one around to hear it. But that was like, setting up a firewood operation. That's what I always wonder. I'll see a lot of these guys on YouTube and stuff. They work out of the back of their yard, and running those saws. Like I know this. I have an Amish family that makes firewood for me, and they got neighbors like right next to them. And man, that saw must be running all day long. And you would think you would get tired of hearing it after a while if you were a neighbor. I don't
Or you
know.
just you know it just becomes common. You don't even notice that it's running.
Yeah.
That could very well be too.
Have you ever caught grief from a neighbor or the city or anything for running saws or, I call it junking your place up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have not. But I don't. I am one of those people that if I'm running a saw and it's 15, 20 minutes, and I got to go do something else. So I either move the rounds around, or I maybe run a splitter, or I can't do like I'm not a task based guy that will run a saw all day.
Yeah. Well, I would think too, depending on your neighbors, obviously, and how close they are, even just the engine running, on a splitter is enough to annoy people.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of the hazards of working from home.
Yes. My neighbors, however, are fairly far out. Like I've done that where I turned my machine on in the wood yard, and the neighbors are probably equal distance from where the wood yard is to my house and their house. So I've gone into my house and listened, and I didn't notice it. So then
Yeah,
I was like, all right, it's not a problem. If I see them in their backyard, like having a get together or something, I won't run the machine then. I'd
I'm the
leave it
same
there.
way.
Yeah.
Well, I was the same way. I remember when, if you remember, when Log Hauler Jesse, he built that road for me with those timbers. And that's when the 405 was delivered to me. It was way, way, way back away from the house. And I was always sensitive about the noise it made. And I even turned like the tailpipe pointing the opposite direction of the house. And I would go inside and I'd ask my wife, did you hear the machine? She goes, oh, I never even knew you were running it. Yeah, she couldn't even hear it from the house. But
Yep.
I do remember there were days where I was going out. I had my day planned. I would go out to run the machine, and the neighbors were having a party. So I would just turn around, go
Oh,
back inside the house,
yep.
find something else to do.
Not anymore though. Now, if your neighbors are having a party, you're either joining in or they'll be like, "Yeah, let's hear that machine run." They're
If they're having a party, I'm going to call the cops because they're being too loud. This is a residential neighborhood, guys.
No, I
Got to
mean
keep it.
your
Got to
neighbors
keep
at
it
your
down over here.
commercial lot.
Yeah. I am in a zoned manufacturing zone. So my lot is in the city of Cortland, so we fall under the zoning. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good. So yeah, but that's still the same thing. If I don't know how you are, I'm just saying, what if I'm running the machine one day and like the guy next door says, hey, I'm got the flu, and I got the splitting headache, I would turn my machine off. I would.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am, though. I've always had being neighborly beaten into me over throughout my life. As both my parents, they just, I don't know, my parents never had any enemies. It seemed, my dad could go into any store and see anyone and, hey, how you doing, and then with me, I think I blame it on my softball coaching career. I'll walk into Walmart or something. I'll see, oh my gosh, there's someone there in aisle 5. I'll go down this way. People wind up hating you for some reason when you're a softball coach. Yeah.
Well, if anyone ever gave me or asked me and gave me a reason to not do something as a hobbyist, I definitely would find something else to do. Because
Yeah.
if I didn't have to do any more work, I'd be all right. Sure, yeah, I'll shut this machine down. Heck yeah.
Uh huh. Well, because you're nice too.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. So okay, so you work from home and you're on a computer. So when I was a remote employee, I had a laptop and I can't remember the program. It might have been called Skype, but I had a red light, a green light, and a yellow light. And everyone on my team was in this little icon in the bottom of my computer screen. And you could tell when someone was away from their computer because it would turn red. If you didn't have your mouse jiggling, if you weren't actively working, your light would turn red. And so you always lived in fear of your light turning red because then the boss would call you up and start screaming at you, wanting to know where you are. And then you don't hear your phone ringing because you're out splitting wood in your backyard. Oh gosh. But I still remember I was just haunted by that red light turning onto my laptop. And I had even thought of ways of defeating it. I was getting like an oscillating fan and like taping a ruler to it and taping it to my mouse so that it would just jiggle a mouse.
Yeah, see, I we do have something similar nowadays. It's called Teams. It's a platform that is made for collaborating remotely, basically. And but yes, there are still the lights, red, yellow, and green.
Uh-huh.
And but now it's red means you're busy, like you're on a call, you're in a meeting. Green available, and yellow is the light that you want to fear because yellow is idle. So but that's just I'm usually always I have something to do, and we actually have a very like we're told like take a break, get away from your desk, every 2 hours for at least 15 minutes, hour lunch each day. Like we have it built in where your light can be yellow because you were red all morning. I mean, there's days where I'm on calls for 6 hours straight,
Oh wow.
and so after that run, if I take an hour off, it's fine.
Huh. I should have done that when I worked from home.
Yeah.
I could have just come in and laid on the couch and say, well, my light's red. Okay.
Yeah.
Ohio Woodburner has a prescribed 15-minute break every 20 minutes.
Yes.
Uh huh.
Built-in brakes, and yeah, you definitely need that. So so now that you've gone what almost a year at your remote or your commute job,
Yeah. Uh huh.
do you would you ever go back to the way it was?
Uh, you know, I have a very good relationship with the property owner, and he seems to very much care about me. And he's very interested. He wants me to succeed and all. But it's always in the back of my head. What happens if he just wakes up one day and says, "Joe, you got to go"? What would I do? And I mean, you should always have a plan B, I think. So that's always in the back of my head. I have not a clue where I would go, but I would think I would start immediately looking for another place that I could move the big red machine to,
Yep.
and put the axis on the hitch and go. Uh, but I think in a pinch, if I had to, I think I could move everything back here to the house just to buy me time. And I still have my Amish producers, so it's not like, if I have an interruption to my schedule of production and stuff, I would have wood up there still that I could get. I mean, it would stink. It would absolutely stink. But I think I would probably feel comfortable moving back home, but I would not want to. And it would be with the understanding, that I am absolutely looking for another place to go. Or, depending on how old, if, like, let's say it happens like 5 years from now, that might be the time to say, well, maybe I just need to sell everything and retire too.
But yeah, so your first choice would not be to go back working from home.
Correct. I would first look to see if there's another place out there I could get moved into ASAP,
Yeah. Yeah,
which is not the right way to find a location like that because
yeah,
when you're not in a leveraged position, your
right.
price tends to go up.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I would say if I don't know if I would ever be able to take another job not working from home, like going into an office.
I
I don't think I could do it.
I can understand that. I I put yourself like in the ownership's shoes, however. And that's where I consider myself a recovering landlord, and I've have experience as being a landlord too, and I know what that's like having full occupancy, which is great, and then having vacancies, which is awful. And I think a lot of these places that have these office buildings and office space, and then people all of a sudden woke up to the fact that, we're probably in a position to go remote. And, we could ask people if they would take a 20% cut in pay if they just want to work from home, and we can still be just as productive, if not more. But then you think, wow, these people here, even like the owner of the business is probably under a long-term lease agreement, and they're spending all this money on a building, and by golly, they're going to use it.
Yeah.
So they're going to start mandating that people come back to the office, kind of a thing. I don't know. I think that's going on probably everywhere in the United States right now. But I totally agree. If once it's like air conditioning. Once you get your first experience with air conditioning, there's no way you're ever going to go back.
Nope.
Uh huh.
That's why I never allow my wife to turn ours on.
Well, I almost turned ours on yesterday. What the heck?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna need it pretty soon.
Yeah. I turned on the air conditioning one time and totally forgot to take the cover off of it. I was like, oops. Yeah. So, Dan, that was just some things that was going through my mind about working from home. And even though I have, my new wood yard's like 4 miles away, kind of still feels like I am at home. But there's just nothing like it. I would recommend anyone out there, if you were ever given the option of taking a 20% cut in pay to work from home, you take it, because there's so much money to be saved by losing that commute.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, and you don't have to shower in the morning. You don't have to
Yeah.
get dressed right away. I mean, it's great.
I think of all the money I saved on clothes. What the heck?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, I have to go outside and work on my suntan before it snows tomorrow.
Oh, speaking of
Yeah.
working from home, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Woodhounds and helping us become the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
From working at home. Well, not anymore. You're not working at home anymore. Your
No.
wood no, yeah, your wood yard isn't, yeah. But the podcast, we're technically kind of working from home.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
no.
administrate the business from home. I do all my computer stuff, all my invoicing, my tax
There you go.
implications are here at the home office.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
But yes, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you right back here next week on your favorite podcasting platform.
That's right. We're on every major podcasting platform, and we have our own website, thewoodhounds.com. So let me tell you, Dan, to stay
Safe
and work
from home.
and have
A great day.